This is Into the Unknown, Season 5, Episode 4. John tells us our first vampire story. In it, we find true belief in nocturnal bloodsuckers. Is this the paranormal at play, or something else, but equally deadly? Let's find out. I'm Mike Duber.
I'm John Fitzpatrick.
All right, John, we've got a vampire story.
Story.
I may fall on the side of the skeptics on this
Oh,
one. I'm
no.
not entirely sure. I don't know.
Okay,
Are they
okay.
real bloodsuckers?
Okay.
Okay. All right. I believe
actually,
it.
they're
I'm
not
good.
really. They're not.
It comes from you.
They're not really bloodsuckers.
Okay.
But they are sucking the life out of their
All
victims.
right. Well, color me intrigued.
Yeah,
Color me red with intrigue.
Ooh. Okay. So this story comes about because I just came back from the great state of Rhode Island. I went for a wedding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A couple of listeners got married, and they invited me to their wedding.
Well, congratulations, you two.
Yeah, I would love for more listeners to invite us to their weddings.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Yeah,
Okay.
instead of having to crash them, which sucks.
Right, crashing them, it doesn't always go so well.
Right.
On a rainy summer afternoon about 5 years ago, my family drove into the parking lot of an Exeter, Rhode Island cemetery. I double-checked my smartphone and the Find a Grave website.
Huh.
We were in the right place, and we were there to meet a vampire. My wife, being the sensible one and much less ghoulish, stayed dry in the car while my daughter and I dashed out in search for the infamous grave of Mercy Brown.
Okay, so your daughter was adventurous in that
Yes,
case.
she was along with us. Yep, we were on
normally
summer-
adventurous in that regard.
We were on summer vacation.
Okay.
And I told her we could go visit a vampire, and she was adventurous.
Oh, she was just okay.
It was broad daylight except for the rain, so
Okay.
it was easy. Anyway, Mercy Lena Brown died in January 1892 at the age of 19. And rather sadly, this marked the beginning of the most remarkable thing about her. Very ordinary family. Okay.
Yeah.
The Brown family's tragedy began the year before when the mother, Mary Eliza Brown, contracted tuberculosis and soon passed away.
All right.
She was quickly followed by her eldest daughter, Mary Olive Brown. And then Mercy succumbed.
Whew.
Okay. George Brown, the father, however, did not get sick. He was understandably in a state about his family dying in such quick succession. His neighbors watched fearfully, and they sympathized with the man, especially when his son, Edwin, began to show symptoms.
Wow, that's horrible.
I'll hazard to guess that most of our listeners have heard of tuberculosis, but fortunately have not experienced the ravages of the disease. That's because in the United States, tuberculosis is under control and is generally treatable. That doesn't mean it has vanished. Outbreaks do occur in poverty-stricken, overcrowded conditions. Globally, it does remain a problem. Some estimates are that some 25% of humanity is infected right now.
Oh, like carrying it, or
We're going to talk a little bit about what
Okay.
tuberculosis is here
Yeah.
in a second. There's also a very alarming rise of drug-resistant tuberculosis. So when I say it's generally treatable,
Sometimes it's not.
which means they can kind of keep it under control but not cure it.
Yeah, all
Okay.
those overuse of antibiotics.
Yeah.
Very bad.
Tuberculosis is an insidious bacterial infection, typically of the lungs, although it can affect other organs. And it's spread through the air whenever a contagious person coughs, spits, speaks, or sneezes.
So this is what the gunfighter in
Doc Holliday.
Doc Holliday had in the
Yes.
movie. He was coughing up blood. It was
Yes.
tuberculosis.
Yes. And let's go on a little bit about the disease itself,
Yeah,
just
go
so
for it.
you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
The bacteria is highly virulent. Okay, as small an exposure as 10 bacterial cells can be enough to infect a person. Okay, that's what virulent means, is how little you need to cause the actual infection. Most infections, that is about 90% of them, are without symptoms and non-contagious. And this might explain why George Brown did not appear to be sick. He probably was. He just wasn't symptomatic and contagious.
Okay. Yeah.
That's also why you can say 25% of humanity right now, some almost 10 billion.
It's just not going to trigger.
Right. But about 10% of infections do become active with the symptoms. And left untreated, the mortality rate of active tuberculosis is about 50%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is why throughout history, and likely long before recorded history, tuberculosis was one of the most feared diseases, earning the name the White Death, like the Black Death or the Red Death.
Yeah. It's just funny. That's the color of the humors. Remember we were talking last week about the humors.
That is
white,
not
black,
yellow,
and brown, I think.
Yeah, that's not coincidental.
Right.
And, when we say that it's contagious when coughing, spitting, speaking, or sneezing, this is also one of the sources of various superstitions about coughing, spitting, sneezing, why it is still in some cases illegal to spit in public, or why you say, God bless you when you sneeze. I mean, there are other things at play.
Yeah.
But it's because these symptoms become dire very quickly.
Yeah.
And people are trying to
And in desperate times, people are going to turn to
So of
different things.
Of course, the other well-known name for tuberculosis was consumption. Mm-hmm. The name evocatively describes the typical symptoms of the common pulmonary tuberculosis, the lung infection. Mm-hmm. Fever, chills, night sweats, loss of appetite, weight loss, and fatigue. The patient literally looks like they are wasting away, growing thin, and pale over time. Another frequent sign, as you mentioned, is coughing up blood or bloody mucus. Mm-hmm. It is as if something is draining the person of life over a prolonged period. The patient actually begins to look suspended somewhere liminal between life and death. Mm-hmm. It's eerie. Mm-hmm. And yes, it has been tied to vampire lore just on those symptoms alone.
Right.
Before
as if someone's draining this person, and we can't find the effects. We don't know about bugs yet. We don't know about bacteria, and so this must be.
And there's really no way to treat it.
Yeah, you just you take them in the countryside where we're going to get to that. Will free you of your demons.
We're going to get to that. So before the advent of antibiotic drugs, medical treatments for tuberculosis victims were haphazard and a little better than crossing your fingers. Fresh air, rest,
there you go. Yep.
Dry desert heat, and isolation were all common. Before compassionate medical care, all manner of superstition found fertile ground near tuberculosis outbreaks. And by compassionate medical care, I mean effective medical care.
Yeah.
Not the bleeding, not the blistering.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of the reactive specimens are very strange, like, ground up dried bugs.
We're going to get there.
Oh, good.
We're going to get there.
Good.
All right.
Good.
We've already talked about how all manner of misfortune in ye old times could be easily blamed on a witch. One can imagine a village stricken with tuberculosis would also be looking for a scapegoat.
Sure. Yep. Something to burn.
So another traditional culprit for an outbreak of diseases like tuberculosis was the undead.
Source of many great stories.
Yes, continental Europe has a rich tradition of ghosts, specters, and wandering undead, and they often spread plague and disease in their wake. There were well-developed folk ritual and traditions to deal with this menace. And for examples, in Robert Eggers' 2025 remake of Nosferatu, the solicitor Thomas Hutter spies a band of Transylvanian villages and Romany leading a naked virgin astride a horse around a graveyard at midnight, searching for the one grave the horse would refuse to step over. This would identify the grave of the undead to be exhumed and incapacitated. And if I remember correctly, because I didn't have time to watch the movie again, a long iron spike is driven through the screaming monster's corpse to trap it in the grave. If I'm wrong, oh well. That is, in fact, one of the regional methods of final disposition.
Yeah.
I know for sure.
Pinning them to the ground.
Yeah, Eggers is well known for his research into these things. All of this is straight out of Eastern European folk tradition.
Yeah.
He did not make any of that up.
They're finding these graves.
Yeah.
They're finding and that's where the stake in the heart is supposed to be the thing, because they're actually talking about is pinning the body into the grave.
Like a butterfly, yes.
Yeah, or burying them face down, so when they try and dig out, they keep digging.
We're going to get to that.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Yes, it's okay. No.
See where this is going.
Yes, sorry. Okay. It should be no shock that the neighbors and friends of Rhode Islander George Brown began to implore him to, quote, do something about the horrible progress of Edwin's disease.
For the love of God.
Do something.
Do something.
Yeah,
anything.
And I want to
get on that horse naked.
I don't want to be silly about that. I want to capture the desperation of, for God's sake, do something.
Yeah.
George was already despondent over the deaths of his wife and daughters, and probably desperate to keep his son alive.
Yeah.
And so long as we're making pop psychology diagnosis, he may also have been experiencing some severe survivor's guilt, given that he wasn't sick.
Yeah.
Although,
and I'm sure that was the source of a lot of questioning. Like,
and like I said, he probably was. He just wasn't an active infection.
Right.
His neighbors had a plan for him. Exhume the bodies of your family and discern the undead culprit. Clearly, the Brown family was corrupted by the presence of a monstrous spirit slowly draining them of life. A grisly ritual was suggested that could expunge the restless spirit and bring Edwin back from the brink of death. If, especially after you hear the ritual unfold, you wonder what could drive George to these extremes, first remember his grief and desperation. And second, consider that this plan can't possibly make anything worse. Okay. So later...
And there's no law against it. That's important too.
Not really. No, I didn't run into anything that indicated he ran afoul of the law. Late on a winter night, the neighbors helped George exhume the bodies. Now, the bodies were still in a temporary internment in the stone root cellar on the property. And I noted the stone root cellar on this New England property because I think they did create this one. It was not one they found, but I did remember our previous episode. Examination showed that Mercy, who had died 9 weeks before, was uncorrupted, whatever that might mean for them, but they considered it uncorrupted in the bitterly cold New England winter. Although the doctor, and there was a doctor involved in all this, examining the bodies explained that nothing about Mercy's condition seemed unusual to him, the crowd pressured the doctor to examine her. They were already convinced she was the undead preying on her family and draining them of life. Her body was cut open, her heart and liver were removed, and burnt to ashes in a blazing fire.
Wow.
The ashes were mixed into a drink and provided to both George and Edwin. Her body was then reinterred and later buried. Hence, I was able to find her grave. I'd like to report that this unlikely cure worked and Edwin returned to health. Alas, he died of tuberculosis. George survived into the 1920s, long enough to learn that researchers had found an effective vaccine against tuberculosis.
Can you imagine? Wow.
And yeah, that indicated that they now knew more about it. Here's the most impressive thing. Mercy Brown's story is not an isolated, desperate instance. Her episode is one of many, some still being uncovered today, that swept through New England. The earliest such incident dating from 1784 and then lasting until Mercy's case in 1892. That's over 100 years of superstition. And this period is often called the New England Vampire Panic. The 1784 case appeared in Willington, Connecticut, where Isaac Johnson had taken ill with consumption. It was reported Johnson with the help of two doctors named West and Grant, exhumed the bodies of his own two deceased children. The report stated that once uncovered, the men searched the bodies for evidence of vines or sprouts growing from the vital organs. This does, by the way, parallel some European vampire beliefs. I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail, but that conjunction of the new growth in the undead or dead body is somehow related. The report concluded that no such evidence was found, but does not say what became of the disinterred children's bodies. So the question is, were they reburied intact or were they burned for good measure? Unknown. Another frequently cited case from the New England vampire panic is Frederick Ransom from South Woodstock, Vermont, who died on Valentine's Day, 1817, at the age of 20. What makes his case unusual is that his family was wealthy and educated. Frederick himself was a student at Dartmouth College. But upon his death, his father worried that Ransom would return to attack the family, and so had him exhumed, his heart cut out, and then burned on a blacksmith's forge.
Wow.
This choice of fire source was not by chance. The magical powers of a blacksmith's forge and other implements are common in folklore motifs. If it's not cinematic enough, it's reported that the forge was moved to the center of Woodstock Village Green, a public space, for a very public burning. Once again, the extreme precaution did not work, and the other members of the family died from tuberculosis over the next few years, but not the youngest brother, Daniel, who went on to write down the account in his later years. In fact, he relates that it was a doctor's diagnosis that tuberculosis was hereditary, which was the belief at the time, and that Daniel would not live to see 30, that set his father to dig up Frederick's body. Henry David I can't say it. All right.
Marble mouth.
Henry David Thoreau, there we go, wrote in 1859, and believe it or not, that's another grave I visited.
Oh, did you?
I visited Thoreau's grave.
All right. Yeah,
Henry
sure.
David Thoreau wrote in 1859, "The savage in man is never quite eradicated. I have just read of a family in Vermont who, several of its members having died of consumption, just burned the lungs and heart and liver of the last deceased in order to prevent any more from having it. It is likely, but far from certain, that he was referencing the Ransom family in this passage. However, every so often, archaeologists uncover evidence of an unknown vampire incident in New England. For example, in 1990, children playing in a gravel pit stumbled across a previously unknown old farm family burial plot in Connecticut. Archaeologists working on the discovery found an unusual coffin marked with JB 55
In a gravel pit?
in tacks on the lid.
You know what? I think I might have seen this news story. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The corpse showed signs it had been exhumed and reburied, with the head and femurs removed and placed in a configuration of skull and crossbones. You were saying about turning them upside down or otherwise dismembering or fixing the body. This was what they did for this one. It also appeared that the rib cage had been broken open to remove the heart. This burial has been identified rather definitively as John Barber, 1788 to 1843. It is possible John Barber's fate was influenced by the so-called Jewett City vampires of the 1840s and 1850s. These creatures were said to have plagued the Ray family, which was a farming family from Griswold, Connecticut. And they lost several members to consumption and became convinced that the undead were to blame. So they exhumed their dead relatives and burned the bodies. Many such vampire panic incidents, but clearly not all, were reported in contemporaneous newspaper accounts, and often with the attitude of, look at these country rubes, while selling papers based on the sensational details.
What? Newspaperman at it again.
At it again. It's the city papers that first use the word vampire.
Sure.
And it's not used inappropriately. The desperate country folk are expressing a sincere belief in an undead person returning to drain the life from their family members. This is an ancient belief that took many forms, not just the dead get up and walk, drink your blood, blah, blah, blah. Once again, we find ourselves trying to categorize traditional beliefs that were likely very fluid. While there's no evidence the New Englanders participating in hunting for the undead ever even considered using the word vampire in their own conversations, it is also likely that they would not have objected to it as an accurate description. Mm-hmm. It's sometimes noted that Mercy Brown's story appeared in newspapers in 1892 and was picked up on by wire services. Bram Stoker's Dracula, which both redefined and solidified the Western idea of the vampire in a truly foundational way, was published in 1897. Mm-hmm. It has been suggested that he learned of Mercy Brown and was influenced. Some have even said the character of Lucy Westenra is somehow based on 19-year-old Mercy Lena Brown. I have no proof either way. Personally, I'm not inclined to believe that the New England vampire panic had more than a passing interest for Mr. Stoker. But I have no proof. Mm-hmm. Records of the restless dead, whether ephemeral ghosts and specters or the walking animate corpses, are actually older than records. Mm-hmm, yeah. The variety of restless dead is endless across time and cultures. It is clearly a primal fear. The first threat of a zombie apocalypse, as we might even recognize it today, comes in one of the earliest known myths, that of the goddess Ishtar demanding entry into the underworld to reclaim her lover. She actually appears at the gates, and when they refuse to open them, she utters this curse. Do you want to read it?
Yeah, sure. If you do not open the gate for me to come in, I shall smash the door and shatter the bolt. I shall smash the doorpost and overturn the doors. I shall raise up the dead, and they shall eat the living, and the dead shall outnumber the living.
In modern usage, the word undead refers to animated corpses, although the Oxford English Dictionary shows some usage as a synonym for alive, which is a little odd, but yeah, okay, would be true. We actually owe Bram Stoker for the modern usage. In fact, he considered the undead as the original title for Dracula, and in his novel, the term is reserved for vampires. But let's keep in mind that this was before the concept of literal shared universes, multiverses, etc. It is likely that Stoker did not consider the possibility of other creatures of the night coexisting with his vampires.
Yeah, he wasn't building an IP.
No, not unlike future incarnations like Universal Studios' Banner or Anne Rice's novels. Stoker puts these words in Van Helsing's mouth to describe the undead. Again, would you?
Sure.
Can you give it your best fake Dutch? Just read it.
You know what time it is?
I'm teasing you.
Yeah.
All right.
Before we do anything, let me tell you this. It is out of the lore and experience of the ancients and of all those who have studied the powers of the undead. When they become such, there comes with the change the curse of immortality. They cannot die, but must go on age after age, adding new victims and multiplying the evils of the world. For all that die from the preying of the undead become themselves undead, and prey on their kind. And so the circle goes on, ever widening, like as the ripples from a stone thrown into the water. But of the most blessed of all, when this now undead be made to rest as true dead, then the soul of the poor lady whom we love shall again be free. Instead of working wickedness by night and growing more debased in the assimilating of it by day, she shall take her place with the other angels, so that, my friend, it will be a blessed hand, for that shall strike the blow that sets her free.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Today, of course, partly with the help of the Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual to help categorize, we can imagine any number of undead creatures, Vampires, zombies, wights, licks, revenants, skeletons, ghouls, draugr. Today, all of these beings have different characteristics that define them. And if we're honest, modern media has redefined them even within our own lifetimes. We're going to take ourselves on this journey.
Yeah.
Take the modern zombie, a shambling, decaying, animated corpse, hungry for the flesh of the living, especially for the sweet, delicious brains. This stems from George Romero's 1969 film, Night of the Living Dead. Yet not once in the film is the word zombie used. Romero even said he did not think of them as zombies. He preferred to think of them as ghouls. Yet ghouls isn't the right word either, as this word refers to a creature from Arab folklore that was not even human, but fed vulture-like on the carrion of dead humans. Romero's creatures are clearly not vampires, as we know what those bloodthirsty beings are from Dracula. At least that's the modern image of vampires, but Eastern European folklore was less distinct, merely considering the vampire to be an animated corpse that came to drain the life away from family and neighbors. Not even necessarily drinking their blood, just draining the life. Sound familiar? It gets even more murky when you consider that many of the local vernacular words used to refer to these undead are also used to refer to werewolves, witches, lumping all the evil supernatural creatures together. If someone questions whether or not Mercy Brown should be considered a real vampire, I think the answer is yes, sorta. The idea held by her true believing father and neighbors that she was an undead creature draining the family of life is close enough at the time. One can even forgive the honest observation, how can Mercy be the family vampire when her mother and sister predeceased her? Maybe it wasn't Mercy per se, but some evil entity passing from one family member to the next, Mercy simply being the last in the line. Folk beliefs aren't rigid, unlike authors, who often feel compelled to lay down clear, rigid rules for their creatures to follow, therefore allowing the heroes to prevail.
Yeah, you gotta have a way to beat them.
Right.
We'll be right back.
But back to that afternoon in the rain. My daughter and I found Mercy Brown's grave and marker. The marker, at present, is bound with thick iron bands that anchor it to the ground. Other legend trippers before us had left an army of trinkets on and around the stone. Otherwise, it is an unremarkable stone. The reason for those iron bands is that not all legend trippers are content to leave things. Some of them have actually tried to take the headstone as a souvenir.
Of course.
And the theft attempts have damaged the stone.
I'm sure they have.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've tried to take it even with the iron bands.
It's a very strange sight.
Yeah. Are there other? It's in a graveyard,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And there's other
It's
graves.
in a cemetery. So
Cemetery.
it's not. Yeah. It's the if there was a church there, the church is long gone. It is a large cemetery. The Mercy Brown's grave is actually pretty close to the front. Hard to miss because so many people go and do leave things on the stone. And they leave in a really remarkable range of things.
Yeah.
They'll leave little plastic vampire bats on it. I mean, kitschy. Other people will leave quite elaborate original artwork.
Okay.
And of all kinds of genres. Like there'll be little pictures of Vampire Mercy, looking like a stereotypical vampire, and there'll be pictures of her as an actual 19th century, farm daughter.
Put your sociology hat on. What is that all about? Tell me what people are doing there. I mean, I have my ideas, but let's talk about that.
So there are a couple of things going on. One is there's a technical term called ostension, and it's the same reason I show up, which is you hear about a legend and you want to connect to what physical artifacts of the truth there are.
Right.
Why it's the same reason. Ostension is why people go down to a Crybaby Bridge or the bridge that the Goat Man shows up. Or even a battlefield, yes, yeah, and it really just takes the physical connection of place with a story, and you go to be part of the story in whatever way you can. Yeah, there are so many other things though. There's a real urge
the leaving of I can see going as a historical exercise to see the property, to see what remains and that sort of thing. But the leaving of something behind. Did you leave something behind?
I did not.
Okay. How come?
And I typically don't. I don't.
I mean, why would you have thought about doing it?
Yeah.
Maybe something else, some other place you would. Why would you do that?
That's interesting because on my last trip, the one that inspired me to go back and write this story, we visited H.P. Lovecraft's grave.
Okay.
And, for the first time, I felt compelled to leave something, and I realized that what I should be doing at an author's grave is leaving a pencil. Pencils are very innocuous things to leave because they're biodegradable. Okay. They are a good thing to leave. And we've seen that at a number of other authors' graves we've visited. We actually left a coin for him. And when I did so, I actually said, as I put the coin on top of the headstone, well, Lovecraft, you were a fairly despicable person, but you were you had an incredible imagination and have influenced many. And I said that out loud, and Julie heard me, and we walked off. It's an interesting. Why do it? I think I kind of want to start to get into the habit of leaving the pencils. And what I'm thinking of doing is getting a little box of golf pencils.
Okay.
Because they're tiny and you can carry the whole box with you in the car.
Right. Because you never know what author's grave you're going to stumble over.
Well, but we often find if I just leave it in the car, a pencil is a pencil. It's useful.
Okay. Yeah. But you can also use it and your, Cadoc B training.
Yeah,
and stab somebody in the temple with it.
Like I'm John Wick.
Yeah. It's like, I don't have any matchboxes, but I've got this golf pencil right there up your nose.
Why do it at all? You become part of that story.
Okay.
Lovecraft's grave, the other interesting thing about it, not unlike Mercy's, is it had been vandalized. And somebody, it's well taken care of. There are a number of charitable organizations that do look after Lovecraft's grave. So somebody had been by to at least begin to remove the paint. From it, but it had just become a smudge. It had not been like fully refurbished and removed. Yeah. And there was a scratching on the back that looked like somebody's name on the rear on the rear of the headstone for Lovecraft. So those are all attempts clearly by people to become part of the story. With someone like Lovecraft, I think there are some unhealthy urges involved with that.
And not with Mercy Brown.
Oh, there may be some there too. Yeah,
I think they're all fraught with potentially. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying sort of what draws people to be part of the story, and what part of the story do you want to be part of? Right. I mean, are people going to her grave to pay homage to a poor, unfortunately famous young 19-year-old that died in a horrible way?
Everyone that shows up there.
Are they trying to identify with a vampire?
Everyone that shows up there is there because of the vampire story. Yes.
Yeah. And tell me that's not. No. I mean, tell me that's healthy.
That's healthy. No, you got a good point. It was my visit, quote unquote, healthy. Is my daughter's visit, quote, dragged there by her old man who said, "Hey, let's go see a vampire." Is that, quote unquote, healthy? I don't know.
Yeah,
that's an interesting question.
As I'm saying it, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, have I ever left anything? On the other hand, what have I taken?
Oh, that's a good thing
So
too.
here's one that I'll do. I mean, a small little rock from a place. Like I have when I went to London. I went outside of Parliament and was
Sure.
in that park that is just south of Big Ben's, the tower and the
Yeah.
Parliament building. And there's a little park there, a little triangular park. And I looked down and there was this smooth, weird shaped stone. I'm not entirely certain what it is, but I'm like, oh, I'll take it, throw it in my pocket. And when I see it, I'm like, oh, that reminds me of my London trip.
Right.
And so it's a memento that is not a kitschy thing.
Right. And that's not as destructive
why
as
did
trying
I
to
do
take
that?
Mercy's headstone.
Yeah. And so I've done that in a couple of places. I've got rocks, one rock from two representative rocks from Grand Canyon. But I guess that's related. The leaving or taking of something is a part of leaving something of you or taking something with you
Yeah.
again to be part of it.
Part of
some
the
kind of
ongoing
reminder.
story. Yeah, in some ways, the differences and similarities among the authors' graves, or among grave visits in general. Mercy's, clearly there's a paranormal aspect to this. Some of those people actually go there and probably do believe she's a vampire, even though clearly I'm telling you she died of tuberculosis. Lovecraft's grave, there's a lot that goes in. He's an author, but because of the Necronomicon and his subject matter, there is a paranormal overlap into that as well. Because plenty of people will tell you, well, there may not be a book, the Necronomicon, but it's part of the Akashic record, and he was channeling.
Right.
And
Well, that's where I
Cthulhu
was hoping
real.
we'd go.
Right. But when you go, when I went to visit Thoreau's grave, and I've been to Louisa May Alcott's grave. I think they're in the same cemetery, if I remember correctly. The people leaving the pencils in the graves there are probably, they're driven by some of the same impulse, but I don't think it's exactly the same. I mean,
I don't think it is either. You can't characterize it as one thing.
No.
I think it falls into a bucket of activity.
Yeah.
But inside it is distinct, I think. I'm coming up speechless because I'm doing more thinking than I am having anything to say about it. Because I find myself taking something as a memento, right? As like one would buy a souvenir. But I don't like souvenirs.
Right. Well,
and other people
I think
say, what are you going to do with that damn rock? And it's like, well, it'll sit on my shelf, but it takes up far less space.
and it costs you less.
But it reminds me. There's
Right.
there's a reminder of that, of a good trip, or I've been there, and there's an element of taking the essence of a place with you.
And maybe and then there's also an element where you were leaving something of yourself.
Yeah. Well, it'd be
When
part
you
of
leave
the,
something. Yeah.
So
I am now always in this place with this person that
Yeah.
rightly or wrongly I have some connection or admiration for.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Or you're there because you
Lovecraft's an
feel
interesting
it.
one because he really was an awful person, but he really did have a tremendous imagination. But somebody like a Thoreau or an Alcott or James Fenimore Cooper, we went to his grave. Actually, we did that on a ghost tour. Those. When you leave something there, you're trying to connect to the person that you do admire. I mean, the reason you go is because you're admiring them,
Yeah.
sure, in a far healthier way than a connection to somebody who's maybe a little dark.
Well, and you see this with Jim Morrison, and others, other famous.
I mean, and it's not just graves. Like there's
Yeah.
a big statue of Bruce Lee in San Francisco that a lot of martial arts friends of mine have gone to and touched and visited and left things for and those kinds of things. His grave, he has a grave. I think the grave is in the United States. I'm blanking on that, but I do know that Jim Morrison's grave in Paris, Bruce Lee's grave, they all get their own set of followers too. And they all leave things or try to take something.
Well, and it also starts to get and scratch at the idea of a pilgrimage.
Yep.
You can imagine, and just, I mean, if we're talking Mercy Brown, right, I can imagine a Corolla from 1994 full of people, young people who identify with this and are on a road trip to go to the grave and connect. I don't want to sound disparaging. It could be that, right, it's, we identify with this and we know that she's 19, she's our age, or she's a
that's
peer,
true.
we look up to her. And we want to go and honor her.
Yeah,
you can see all this play out.
Yeah, and then there are darker aspects of that too. I know, for example, that
Right.
Mercy's grave is watched like a hawk around Halloween.
Right.
There's somebody there observing it all the time.
Yeah.
Because they can't. That's when the damage tends to occur.
Yeah.
Because
Or when
let's
you're
go.
gonna and do
Let's go
something.
see the vampire at midnight. And there's no
Or
fence
worse.
around this cemetery. You can get in and out at any hour of the day.
Right.
In fact, when we went to that's not that unusual with cemeteries. Even with ones that have walls, they're not necessarily particularly high.
Mm-hmm.
It's the isolation, the loneliness, the quiet, the spookiness that sort of keeps people away. And there's not a lot of reason to go most of the time. Although we talked about
Right.
people going to see the Black Aggie statue
Right.
in the cemetery in Baltimore. And when we went to see the Fenimore Cooper grave, that was on a ghost tour.
Mm-hmm.
The tour took you into the churchyard, and you saw, and we all stood around the Cooper graves, and were told the ghost stories that are associated with the churchyard and the Cooper grave. But we were there at night.
Yeah.
And
Well,
nobody stopped us, and
we-
nobody checked to make sure that the approved ghost tour was taking the approved people who
Right.
were paid up
Right.
into the cemetery.
Well, I guess, now thinking about it, my son Jake and I went to Williamsburg to see history and we took a ghost tour that was there, and that's a similar thing. You're going and you're taking away a story. You get an experience. You stand where the story is supposed to have happened. So it's all a form of the same thing.
Yeah,
I guess.
it does become part of the ritual that you are reliving the story. You are becoming part of the story when you connect in these small ways. Yes, that is part of it. Mm-hmm. That is the sociological hat.
If we really wanted then to get into a couple of paranormal topics, which is sort of proximity and participation. I know previously we had talked about Hellier, and that you hadn't watched it, and which was weird because
Oh, I watched part of season 1.
Okay, you mentioned it to me,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I started it, but it seemed kind of funny, seemed kind of fake. And so I gave it just a minute when I had first run across it, and I think, it probably wasn't in the mood. And then it felt like they were just telling a story, and I didn't want to watch a whole season only to be told that, part 2 is coming, and
Right.
we're going to continue the fake story, and then read online later that it's fake. But when I learned that, well, they're, for all intents and purposes, these are legitimate folks participating in this weird phenomena,
trying to remember, is it the
interaction with the phenomena.
Are they the Newkirks? Is that
Yeah, the Newkirks have
correct name?
that traveling show of haunted objects,
Yes,
as I
they
understand it.
are.
And I would be interested to have them on and maybe try and reach out and talk to them.
Sure,
Because
why
I
not?
found, here's the strange thing. I had visited my son in the south and then drove north. And you can go around the Appalachians to around the west side or the east side. So
Yep.
I went around the one side because I was planning on visiting Mike up in
Right,
Cleveland. Just popping by Cleveland.
As one does.
By way of the South.
As one
by
does.
way of
Oh,
Alabama.
I was in Alabama, and I
Yeah.
thought I'd drop
Well, that's what he
into Cleveland, Ohio.
He's like,
here,
visiting.
here on the lake.
Visiting. Yeah, it's beautiful up there.
It is. I've been to Cleveland.
Yeah.
I didn't see Mike though, because that's a longer story, and he'll have to forgive me.
Yeah. Oh, and I also saw the Cleveland Museum of Art. It has some really great Egyptian artifacts.
Oh, okay.
Really amazing. I definitely recommend it.
But, why go to a museum? That's not that different. Why go to a museum
that's
to
right.
see an ancient artifact? Particularly Egyptian, often
That's right.
mummies, sarcophagus, all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Associated with it, you're part of that story. Oh yes, this thing really exists.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
In front of me.
Yeah.
It has no real bearing on my life other than my passing interest in the fact that it's spooky and whatnot. But I'm
Right.
here to see it. Now I feel vindicated.
I feel vindicated.
Yeah.
But when I'm mentioning Hellier and I'm mentioning Kentucky, which is Hellier, Kentucky,
Yep.
which the show is about, I'm not going to spoil it, but there is an aspect of that where they say their whole story that they're telling you, which I believe they're genuine when they're telling it, right? that they were drawn into this intrigue that they're a part of.
Yeah,
in the story.
I'm trying to remember the story, but didn't they get
They
like
received
an email
that
Yeah.
explained to them that there are these critters that are coming out of this cave, which are these diminutive 4 foot, 3 foot tall goblins.
Which is not an unusual story in Kentucky.
Well, and they
Strangely
knew
enough.
this too. And
Yeah.
they're like, but this guy's compelling story drew them in and so forth. So I would recommend go pick it up. You can stream it and watch it.
Yeah, that's why I watched some of it.
But the thing, I understand. But I would recommend going back for
Maybe I will.
season 1 and season 2
Okay.
if you stick with it. I think I had said that some of the things that they record go a little long, but in hindsight, having watched everything, it makes sense.
Okay.
It makes sense, and what they present holds together very well.
Maybe I'll give it another shot,
Yeah,
especially
I
if you're
would-
looking to get them on.
I would give it a shot only because it's representative of what I'm trying to dig at here, which is you go to participate in Mercy's grave, right? And the idea that she, either she's the poor girl that just got a bad disease, or that she's a vampiric and you're trying to intone out of, being there something, I don't even know what, right? I can't even put in words. But participation. Now, what they mention in Hellier when you're watching the show is when you pay attention to the phenomenon, as they come to call it,
Right.
it participates back with you.
And that came up with Richard Haddam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that the act of, exactly.
And
And I was
I
trying
even
to explain to
expressed-
him when I think I told a little bit of the story. I had driven through Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I had stayed in a little town called Maysville. And I was only not very far from Point Pleasant because I was planning to go to Point Pleasant, but I ran out of time and I went north. But I drove through the area. I drove over Mammoth Cave. I went through this area. I came home, and in a weird set of synchronicities, I picked up the show again and started watching it. And then they mentioned all of the locations that I drove right through.
Yeah.
Not through directly,
isn't
but
that
very
weird?
close. Yes.
When you realize I've already done this itinerary and I didn't realize what I was missing.
So it
Yeah.
gets better. I got back, and suddenly all of this is forming up around my trip through the area. I'm watching this story. They're telling me about their synchronicities. I start having my own, just meaningful to me, not to them. I'm not involved in their story.
Right.
All I'm saying is, incidentally, I'm having my own.
Yeah.
And then I bring it in? No, I didn't bring it in. But the Mothman Chronicles, I started and stopped that book several times, but I felt compelled to pick it up again. My bookmark, John, was 1 page away from the tin can paragraph. I
Okay.
picked the book up like, I would be reading this again. My bookmark, where I had left off, is some 80 pages into the book. I started reading it, and I turned the page, and I was 3/4 of the way down the page, and it went tin can, which is in the show, and you'll have to go and watch to
Okay.
understand. But it's significant. And I
Right.
went, son of a bitch. It was a page away from the thing that they referenced, which they
Yeah.
had themselves a huge,
And if only-
weird event over.
So it's almost
It's-
significant in being a missed synchronicity, isn't it?
Can you explain that?
Synchronicity obviously is when things are coming together
For me or
Right,
for you personally.
Right. But what you're describing is this, and I've had this a similar experience, maybe not as distinct as what you're describing, but you're like, yeah, I went to all the places. I didn't know what I was seeing. I was a page away from understanding the significance of something. I hadn't seen the show yet, but when you go back and watch the show, you're like, oh, I've paralleled all of that,
Yeah,
and I missed it. It's not the synchronicity coming together where you see it. It's a synchronicity that's asynchronous in time.
I see what you're saying.
You've missed the thing, even though you did it almost exactly. And my similar experience was when we went to Vermont. We had to come back down into Massachusetts to see my family. So we crossed over into New Hampshire and came straight down. And then like the next week, I caught a podcast about Betty and Barney Hill. And I
Yeah,
realized,
yeah.
oh my God.
I was right there.
I took that
probably that
route,
same road,
The
probably.
exact same highway, because there
Yeah.
aren't that many of them.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah, there are
didn't-
not a lot.
I did not stop to... If I'd known, I would have tried to call up the marker. There you have a marker.
They do, right.
About
right on
where
that
they
diagonal
about
road,
where
right
they
where
were
went through.
stopped and
Yep.
everything else. And I would have tried to stop there again to be
Right.
part of the event and take my picture
Yeah.
with the marker. I have done that in other places where I knew what I was looking for, whether it was historical or paranormal. I just missed it. I missed it. And it's not going to like I'm going to be there in the future.
I don't think you missed an activity. I think you are just driving through an area that has such a huge, infectious, virulent aura, to
Yeah.
use a word from this episode, the virulent sense of the place. And there is a meaning to my madness, and we'll get to it in a second.
Okay.
But what I am saying is, by driving through that area, you pick up, in my mind, you pick up the sense of the place. And I had and several years previously, I was driving past Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And out of nowhere, I thought of somebody. They're like, oh, my buddy at work, Mike, grew up in Pittsburgh. My phone started ringing, and it's him. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't excited to hear from me because he was calling and trying to bring me, can get me work on a contract at work, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, hi, Mike. But what was strange was I just happened to be driving back from another one of those trips through that area, thought about Mike, thought about Pittsburgh, and then he calls me while I'm on the road and I'm talking to him, while I'm driving. So just, again, that's why I keep saying Washington was in the area during the Monongahela.
Yeah, that's that area.
I was
Yes.
driving through, and I usually come back with sort of a virulent synchronicity bug.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I'm saying this is because there is something in the Skinwalker episodes that we're going to return to,
Okay.
which they call the hitchhiker effect. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I've heard of this.
Where people will go and had worked on the ranch. They had spent several months being either security or key investigator or principal investigator, and then would go home. But when they go home, the experiences follow them home.
Right.
Like they have.
It doesn't just end at the border of the ranch.
It goes
for them.
home, and for several months, it will happen in their homes, and not small insignificant things. The people that report the hitchhiker effect say, "Don't even talk about it. We don't want to talk about the hitchhiker effect. We're afraid of invoking the hitchhiker effect,
and
as if you're catching a cold and you're bringing it home."
And I know the people who attest to this will also point out that you're also not talking about insignificant distances. Often they go home from Utah to New Jersey.
Well, there's one story that says the guy goes home to Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
Which is only 70 miles from here.
Yeah.
And
from here, but not from
here.
there.
Right, from Utah.
Yeah.
But he'd gone home. I mean, anywhere.
Right.
Anywhere. They go home over long distances, and it's going with them as if there is something virulent.
Yeah, and it's not just Skinwalker. That hitchhiker effect has been reported elsewhere.
Exactly. Well, it's the same thing as an attachment.
Yeah, it's even reported in cemeteries to the point where some people will semi-humorously, semi-invoking folklore have ghost brushes where you actually will symbolically brush the dust from your soles of your shoes.
Well, that's something out of the Bible.
To leave something behind.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's
so
what they
can't follow
say.
you.
I'm going to leave the city. I dust the. I
shake the dust
shake
from
the dust from my sandals.
Yes.
And move on. So I don't know. There's something to it. So anyway,
it's
find
an
that
ancient belief.
It's an ancient belief that's carried forward, but maybe there's something, something to dig in on there. I'd be curious to ask others about it. So we have some guests coming up that might have some insight into that. So I think I'll load that in the chamber and save that for some guests.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we're looking at we're at about 53 minutes. Was there any other topics you wanted to dig into here?
Ooh.
I mean, we do have time.
I don't think so. I mean, I knew this would
Okay.
be a shorter scripted session with
Yeah.
this,
And I think we
but I
went
wanted
in
to
some
get
interesting
it out.
places.
Yeah, I wanted to get it out because of the recent Rhode Island visit. I was inspired, and I knew we needed to get something into the canon. This is obviously not a particularly original podcast topic. There have been a number of other podcasts on that. You can go searching for Mercy elsewhere.
Okay. We put our spin on it.
Famously, the Lore podcast, and then when they did the Amazon Prime TV version of it, I think they make more of the Mercy case in that, if I recall the episode, people do believe they see Mercy walking around. I'm not sure that's really attested to in the actual accounts. But I think for dramatic purposes, they sort of leave you with that impression on the TV show that people are, like the brother is seeing Mercy out of his window after she dies type thing. So things change, stories change, and they change because of that.
Well, right. I mean, we know
got to
that
watch out
from-
for that. But,
Well, we know that from cryptids, right?
Yeah.
That, that the theory would be that, I mean, this is an amalgamation of everybody's imagination, sort of invoking it and bringing it to. It doesn't surprise me at all that, Mercy died a horrible death. And according to the lore of ghosts and spirits, right, somebody that's miserably killed may be walking around somewhere.
Right.
And, according to the lore.
Yeah, if this is a topic that interests you, you want to explore it from different angles. There are plenty of other ways to do that. There are also, and I put them into the show notes. There are a couple of books that are excellent. One of them is Food for the Dead, which is actually a scholarly work. It is readable and approachable. It is not too in depth into the sociology or history. But it does take you through the New England vampire panic. And then there's a far more acceptable, I believe it's History of New England Vampires. Let me open the document here. Yes, it's History of of Vampires in New England by Thomas D'Agostino. And it's a much thinner book, but it's much more approachable. It's kind of a quick read. It's in that Haunted America series that I have a lot of, and you can probably find what you're like Haunted Ellicott City or Haunted Howard County. It's in that series.
Yeah, yeah.
So, wherever you live, you probably have a haunted hometown,
Right.
Haunted Pittsburgh.
That's right.
In
And
fact,
it's got a pub, and it's got a bed and breakfast.
Yeah. In fact,
to
Julie
stay
just bought me Haunted Pittsburgh for I think it was Father's Day. So because I failed to find it when we were out in Pittsburgh, and I was so upset. She just ordered it and handed it to me. So I was pleased
very
with that.
nice. That's
yeah,
very nice.
But you can do research online, read some books, learn some things about folk beliefs and customs and desperation,
Right.
disease,
Right.
desperation.
Yeah, you can learn about
the four horsemen
consumption.
of the apocalypse. Yeah.
See if self-diagnosed.
Yep.
Like, oh, that's not good.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think we've covered it. Thank you for bringing this one forward. It's been in the backlog for a little while, and glad we decided
it was the right time.
to go for it.
It was the right time for that. Maybe after my next trip, we'll touch on Lizzie Borden.
Oh, okay.
Because I promised Elizabeth that I would take her up there at some point, and we'd go to the Lizzie Borden house, which does hold tours and does have some woo.
Okay.
It's
In
not
the
just a
house
true
itself.
crime story. Yeah, it's not just a true crime story.
Yeah, I've heard there some stuff banging around in there.
Supposedly, yes.
Yeah.
So
that's what I've heard.
But I promised her this time I would not go. And then in an odd synchronicity, one of the podcasts that I do contact, not Richard's, but another one, they just did when I came back, they just did the Lizzie Borden story, which is unusual for them. They usually don't touch true crime. And I was like, oh my God, I was in the wrong place. I went to H.P. Lovecraft's grave.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
Yeah. I should have gone to Lizzie Borden's, and then we'd have something to talk about. But, things happen.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, I was all the way, all set to go to, and I didn't know about Hellier at the time, which would have been right there. I was all set to go to Point Pleasant, but again, I ran out
Yeah,
of
we
time.
still need to get there.
Mm-hmm.
The other place we thought about going on the last Rhode Island trip was Benjamin Church's grave. Benjamin Church was a soldier for the colony, for the Massachusetts Bay Colony in King Philip's War. He actually hounded the chief Metacomet, or Sachem Metacomet, who was King Philip, the name of the war. He found him, executed him, and ended the war. He's considered to be the first ranger in the New World, and by extension, then they actually put a ranger tab on his grave. Okay. We thought about going to the grave because it was just like 10 miles south of where we were staying.
Yeah.
And I would like to. That's another one I'd like to touch.
Yeah.
But that whole story about King Philip's War, which is not very well known today. That's the origin story for the Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts.
Right.
And
yeah.
There's
so a bevy of info there.
Yeah, one reason to go touch the grave, and then maybe go ghost hunting in the Bridgewater or look for other stuff.
See what we can pick up. See what will hitchhike on us.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of reasons to go.
Yeah. Angie and I were thinking about driving up to Rhode Island and seeing the Templar Tower.
Oh yeah,
right
in Providence.
In Providence.
Yeah. I haven't seen that yet, but I know that's there.
Yeah, and not that that's necessarily paranormal, but I guess maybe it could be. But we were going to do the
determining
walk.
it.
Yeah, I'll drag something in. Yeah, it's certainly a cult.
Yeah.
It's got an alignment that would be interesting to look at. So
there's all kinds of stuff up there. Victor keeps talking about moving back down here to the Eastern Shore, and I keep saying, "Why would you? I'll come up there and move in up there."
Oh, there you go. Yeah, get a house right looks over the triangle.
There's water. There's paranormal stuff. There's lots of history. There's lots of museums to see. You're near the decent health care as you get older when you retire.
Right.
Why would you go to the Eastern Shore where most of that stuff is gone except the water?
Yeah, the waves have a way of washing it away.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, we'll see.
All right, well, let's close this one out.
Okay.
That's a good one. Thanks for listening, folks. And if you are listening on your favorite podcast purveyor, give us a good review or stars or thumbs or I don't know, whatever good things they're looking for podcasts. That really helps us out and improves our exposure. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Next week. Do we know what we're doing yet?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. We know exactly what we're doing.
Yes.
All right, then.
I know it's mostly written, but I'm going to maybe push it offside.
All right, let's just leave it there.
Let's
Thanks.
leave it there.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. No, seriously, see you.